tell us something about your illustrious career and journey till now.
Sure. I guess like a lot of Indian students, I started my career after doing an MTech in computer science. At that time, the University of Pune was having a new MTech program, and they recruited a lot of faculty from the IITs to do that, and it was a really good program that I was able to get into. I took up a job at CDAC after that. In CDAC at that time, it was a very small company. It was 40 people, and we were building the first supercomputer. So I was a part of that. I was handling the database side of things. So we were building a parallel database for the supercomputer. Right. After CDAC, I think one of the things that happened in around '95 is because of the killer micros, which is whatever we could achieve with a supercomputer that we were working on for 2 or 3 years. A new microprocessor would come that would radically alter the dynamics of the industry, and so it was pretty clear that supercomputing as a business was undergoing a lot of change and a lot of challenges, and we didn't know really how CDAC would fit into the new picture. At the same time, the US customs rules had been modified so that India could now freely import computers, and so we thought that we actually had fulfilled some of our major objectives. So I started looking out, and I felt like cryptography, and because of the rise of the internet at that time, cryptography was going to be an important thing, because how do you establish trust in a remote kind of internet-driven environment? And so I joined a company in Pune called Querysoft at that time, which was later named to Ontavo. And it was working on a cryptography-based Trojan horse prevention software. And unfortunately at that time, the US would not allow the export of this cryptography tools to India. They were considered to be a munition by the US government. And so what happened was I ended up in the United States by accident, really, because I never planned on going there. I was in a government job, and I took a good job in a private industry in Pune. I had to go in order to get the hands on the toolkit that had the strong cryptography features that were needed for our product. Now, right around that time, Microsoft was actually coming up with the foundation of their cryptography subsystem, which was the Microsoft Cryptography API. And at one of the review meetings for that API, I ran into people at VeriSign, which was at that time an extremely small company. It was a 12-person kind of startup. And so, one thing led to the other, and I felt like the certificate authority business in cryptography is a really good business to be in. And so I took up a job at VeriSign very shortly after that. And Ontavo was successful in its own right. They got sold to BindView for $105 million in 2000. But I quit Ontavo after hiring the first 50, 60 employees and starting the US office through my presence there. And I then quit Ontavo to join VeriSign. And then VeriSign at that time, as I said, was a really, really small company. We were renting out a small, part of a floor of a building that hosted, Intuit and other companies. And from there, we became the top certificate authority. I was the director of engineering there. And we became the top certificate authority in the world. We had over, when I left VeriSign, we had over $1.5 billion in revenue, and we had over 3,000 employees, and we had a presence in I think 20 countries or something like that. So a massive growth spurt. Of course, very rewarding as well because of the .com boom at that time. So I quit VeriSign in 2002 to start my own company called TrustGenix. TrustGenix was also in the security business. One of the issues with VeriSign was that VeriSign did not have a vision of providing software, licensed software to their customers. They were hosting security services that were delivered on the internet. Whereas what I wanted to do more and more was, that there is a need for a software-based solution for security, which really cannot be done through an internet-based service because of the type of software that is required. Customers will not rely on a third party to deliver that kind of capability. So Inchem TrustGenix, I founded that with a colleague of mine called Greg Whitehead, and the two of us, ran the company for about 3.5 years. I was the CEO and he was the CTO, and we had a pretty good run. We signed up some of the major companies as our customers, like Vodafone, Nokia, France Telecom. We had Mercer, which is a human resources company in the US. And so we had a pretty good run over 3.5 years, and we ended up in a situation that we were indispensable to two companies because either of those companies could not let us survive as an independent company because they were losing revenue as a result. And neither of them could let go of us because the product that we had could be a potential threat to their entire identity line of business. So this, we are talking about a line of business which is about $1 billion of revenue. So as a result, we had a multiple bidding kind of situation on the company. So two companies were fighting it out to get TrustGenix as a part of as a subsidiary of their company. And so we finally sold to HP, Hewlett Packard, and this was in December of 2005. So that's kind of where my career took a turning point, because I felt like I had lived the Silicon Valley dream, had done most of the things that people aspire to do over there. I was in HP for a year and a half, just completing the integration with the team there. But I really started looking at what else I could do, right? So I took some time off. I decided that I should move back to India, so moved back here to Pune, where I grew up, and I ran into Rajiv, who was having a company called ImagePoint at that time. This was about 2.5 years back, maybe 3 years back. And so we had a series of very good meetings, and we decided that the technology that Rajiv had built, which is this language transformation technology, I would say, has an enormous potential. And so we started a company called LinguaNext, which at that time was responsible for the international sales of the technology that ImagePoint had developed and was selling domestically in India. In the first year, we got pretty good response internationally. We had substantial revenues with which we could buy out the original company, ImagePoint. And so now ImagePoint is a subsidiary of LinguaNext. And so I now head up, I'm the CEO of LinguaNext. And at LinguaNext, what we've done is we've transformed the business from being a primarily domestic business to a largely international business, where the needs of language transformation are being met at a global scale for a lot of companies. We've also expanded the management team here. There's now Jagdish Sahasrabudhe, who's the COO at sales for us. We have a director of marketing in Boston, Chris Lanfear, and so we've rounded out the global management team, and we are poised for the next level of growth here. So that's kind of what I've done.